Let's start from Parliament, where the Deputy Majority Leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, now leads government business for the Majority Caucus following the shocking resignation of Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu. Now, the departure of Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu comes after days of speculation marked by deep cracks on the front bench. Now, Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante captures the events leading to his exit.
It's been a rancorous week within the governing New Patriotic Party in Parliament. The rumours had been swelling for days about moves to remove the Swami MP Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu from his role as Majority Leader. But things hit the ceiling on Monday when the item found its way on the agenda of the NPP's NEC and National Council's meetings. The next day, First Deputy Speaker Joseph Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu led a number of NPP MPs at a news conference in Parliament, insisting no such change will be countenanced.
To assure you that we have confidence in the leadership as they are, and the status quo shall remain. The Parliament of Ghana has adopted standing orders which places the selection and change or otherwise of leadership in the hands of the caucus and not anybody outside Parliament.
But this did not end the talks of an impending shakeup. The now former Majority Leader himself only told Joy News that the people seeking to get him out can't continue.
There are claims that you are being schemed to be removed as Majority Leader. Do you have any response to that?
No comment.
On Wednesday, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin waded into the controversy, ruling that political parties can change and appoint its leaders in Parliament, or at least be the ones to start the process.
You cannot be talking about you designating or appointing your leaders without the party leading the process.
Even as this ruling was being digested, there was a meeting at the Jubilee House to resolve the impasse. It was at this meeting that Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu tendered in his resignation as Majority Leader. Executive Director of the Africa Centre for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Rahman, believes the former Majority Leader was pushed out.
We all saw this coming. And, the question is, was he pushed or did he jump? And I think from the series of events and all our discussion right from Monday to this point, I think he was pushed.
He also reflects on the legacy of Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu as leader in Parliament.
I think his biggest legacy is, we need to unpack it, but I think he has deepened our democracy. He is, first of all, somebody who understands our Parliament and the parliamentary procedure more than almost any other person in the House currently.
Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu is currently the longest-serving NPP MP, having been in the House since 1997. He has also served as the leader of the NPP caucus in Parliament since 2009. Joy News understands the New Patriotic Party will officially inform Parliament on Thursday about the resignation of Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu and appoint NP for Efutu Alexander Afenyo-Markin as the new Majority Leader. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante.
Well, this afternoon, some minority MPs say they feel Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu was forced to go out.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because, we started hearing the rumors that there was going to be a change in leadership of the majority side. And of course, we all heard the First Deputy Speaker and a few of the majority members opposed to the move to change the majority leader. I was interviewed and I said that, in principle, I think that it wasn't fair to change him at this time, especially when he was not consulted. This morning, my checks indicates that prior to the outburst, if I may put it that way, of the first speaker, the First Deputy Speaker, the majority leader was consulted by the president. And it's interesting to note that he had even cooked a package for him, which in my view is even going to bloat the size of government. We are told that Kyei is going to be a Minister of State and he's going to also maintain his office and the staff that he has as the majority leader and a minister responsible for business, government business. So it is only the name that has changed. That is now going to be a minister of state, but he's going to hold on to that structure, okay, and run it. What it also means that for Afenyo to be effective, he has to also get another set of staff to also play his role as the majority leader and also the minister responsible for business, government.
It has to do with forcing the man out. Because if the question, I guess you asked him the question, why was he the one addressing the press on that matter? If indeed there was some possible changes in the leadership and there was the need for the press to be, addressed, it ought to have been done by the leadership of the majority caucus. Unfortunately, he took it out. We are picking some information that he's not a happy person. And the information we've got is that he was virtually forced out, he was unwilling to go. The information I also picked reliably is the fact that he wanted to be made the Minister for Foreign Affairs. And I'm told the current Minister for Foreign Affairs intend contesting for some position within the sub-region. And therefore, going and leaving the ministry and was going to be instrumental in a campaign, be it as it may. I think that
former Majority Leader Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu remains tight-lipped 24 clear hours after his shocking resignation. Here is what he had to say when my colleague, Kweku Asante.
Majority Leader, please, why didn't you take your seat? Why didn't... Leader, why didn't you take your seat? You took another seat today. Leader, can you confirm officially that you told the president that you had resigned? Leader, can you tell Joy News something, that you resigned officially? And what is in the works now?
I'll speak to you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Leader.
Well, so that's the man at the center of all of this. You would want to put it as controversy surrounding the leadership of the House. He says he will speak to Joy News tomorrow. Now let's go to Parliament and speak to Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante for more details. Kweku, an interesting turn of event in the House today. Let's begin with a back and forth about the new sitting position of the former Majority Leader. We spoke about this a few days ago.
Yes, we understand that in the coming days, once this leadership change is confirmed, he'll be given a new seat. Of course, for the last 16 years, in fact, this is the 15th year that Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu has been leading the NPP caucus in Parliament. Between 2009 and 2017, he was the minority leader. And then between 2017 till now, he has been the majority leader. So in Parliament, there are only 2 black seats on the floor of the House. And those 2 black seats are taken by either the minority leader or the majority leader. Every other person takes the other seats that are on the floor. And Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu has been sitting on one of those black chairs for the last 15 years. And so for the first time, for a long time, and so many people do not remember the last time they saw Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu sit somewhere else other than his chair. Yeah. He came in and sat behind his original chair, the black chair. He sat on the chair that currently belongs to the Member of Parliament for Dansia Sokwa and Minister for Trade and Industry, Honorable Kobna Tahir Hammond. He sat on that chair for a while. MPs came to him, he spoke to them. In fact, OBM was sat with him for quite some time. And then we saw the Deputy Majority Whip now, Habib Idris, who is penciled to become the next Majority Chief Whip, go to him, talk to him, we understand, to try and signal him to come back and take his black seat. Because, of course, having signaled his intention to resign, those changes have not been made official on the floor yet. And so the expectation was that he would go and take that chair. He declined and sat there for quite some time, did some work on some papers. They brought him some documents. He signed a lot of things. And then just before he would leave the chamber, he did something surprising. He went back to that black chair, the chair that is originally his as majority leader. He went on, sat on it for a minute, and then left to talk to the first deputy speaker, Joseph Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu. The 2 conversed for a few minutes before he went out of the chamber, spoke with a number of their colleagues. And then I was watching him for such a long time whilst he was in the he used to normally stay before he would come into the chamber. And a lot of his colleagues came to him, they would talk to him as though to commiserate with him after all that is happening to him in the caucus. He had a lot of conversation for almost 30 minutes. Journalists were all over the place waiting for him. And he did speak to colleague MPs for a while before he came down. He played that video. He came down and took his car. Where you saw Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu's car today, that has not been his seat. That has not been his car park. As majority leader or minority leader, he's always had a designated parking spot just in front of the Job 600. And so for the first time, he's parked his car where almost all normal MPs normally park their car. He used the same exit as all of us, went to his car, and then left the precincts of Parliament.
Well, yesterday we were told that he, voluntarily resigned. But some other minority MPs are also saying it looks as though he was pushed out. You looked at him closely. Does it look like someone who said, I'm giving up my position voluntarily, or he looks like someone who was forced to do something against his own wish?
Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu is usually a very strong person. He is an experienced politician. He's been doing this for decades. In fact, he's been in Parliament for 27 years. After the end of his term, he would have been in Parliament for 28 years. That is only equaled by a few MPs like the Speaker of Parliament himself, Cletus Avoka, you also have a person like Colin Dowda. So he's one of the few MPs who's been in Parliament for such a long time. And so he doesn't give out information easily. He doesn't act in a way that you can easily read his body meanings. But of course, the talk within the caucus has been that he has been forced out. Even within NDP MPs, there are those who believe that this decision was not the right one and that the pressure got to him. And of course, if you read the transcript of what he said, he's reported to have said at the Jubilee House yesterday announcing his resignation, he said he does not want to be the one in the eye of the storm. He does not want to be the one for which reason the party is setting this area. And that is why he has offered to tender in his resignation. So clearly, Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu, of course, not so excited. He'd have wished that he would have seen the end of his tenure. He'd have been in Parliament as majority leader until the end of his tenure on the 7th of January 2025. But as matters will be and as fate will have it, Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu would have to take an early shower 8 months to the end of his tenure. Someone else would have to be appointed.
Well, do we take it as though the resignation is now official? Has it been communicated to the House that there's been changes now?
Officially, no. Officially, the Speaker of Parliament did not read any communication today from the political party. Tomorrow, the New Patriotic Party's National Council is expected to hold a meeting. And this is the biggest agenda there, where they're going to firm up the names. We do not expect any surprises. The names we chat on this channel on Monday are the same ones that are going to be. The majority leader is going to be Afenyo-Markin. His deputy is going to be Frank Anodonpre, and it follows in that suit. So we expect that tomorrow's meeting will confirm those details, and then the party will not officially communicate to the Speaker of Parliament. We expect that letter will be read either on Monday or on Tuesday, depending on which day Parliament sits, and then officially it will be made. And then Alexander Afenyo-Markin will take his rightful seat as majority leader. Today he wasn't on the floor of the House, although his documents and other things were put right before him, his seat as the deputy majority leader, but he did not come up to the floor today. And some of the persons who have been named, rumored to
move to the majority leadership now, I guess.
Now be in one of the leadership spots in Parliament today.
Very, very interesting. But we also know that the committees are being, reorganized. What happens to the committees that Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu heads as the majority leader?
Well, luckily for now, no committee has been formed except the Appointments Committee because of the new standing orders. And if you look at the new standing orders, the Appointment Committee is now made up of largely ex-officio members. Afenyo-Markin, as currently Deputy Majority Leader, by virtue of his position, is a member of that committee. If he's appointed as Majority Leader, he would have to forfeit that membership because the committee is now made up of the Deputy Majority Leader as the Vice Chair of that committee. So he will still be on as leader, but he will not be the Vice Chair of the committee as has been constituted. And so the Speaker had given a deadline tomorrow for the leadership to submit names for the rest of the committees. So I'm sure those will be the conversations that will be had. And Afenyo-Markin will probably take a center stage in forming these committees. And because of the new information, the new news that Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu is no more the majority leader, that will be taken into consideration in the naming of the committees.
Okay. Now, how did this affect business in the House today, especially on the side of the majority?
Well, it was a bit tense today, of course, because of all the things that have been swirling around for the last few days. It was a tense day in Parliament, and you could see MPs come in and go and talk to each other. But this was the big news within the caucus. So, but luckily today, Parliament didn't do any major business. We understand all these issues are part of the reason why they didn't. Even the anti-gay bill that was scheduled to be passed. Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu has been a crucial person shepherding this bill through. He has been proposing several amendments. Some of them have been taken on board. And so today they did not take that. They did light business. They took some statements from members of Parliament, and then the House adjourned. And the first Deputy Speaker, who has been backing Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu, presided largely over the House today. After that, journalists spoke to him. I spoke to him also. And he said he's strongly disappointed that Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu will resign. He believes Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu is a strong leader. He works so hard and didn't expect that Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu would bow out this soon. He was expecting that Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu will see to the end of his tenure, but he has resigned now. We put to him whether or not the names that have come up of the deputy majority leader, Afenyo-Markin, being the one to take over, send it in to go by. He said, as far as he's concerned, the caucus have not been informed and there is no decision as of yet.
Do you pick indication that this will somehow affect the majority and how they go about their business?
Yes. In fact, there are those in the majority caucus who believe that as a caucus, they would have to come together and weather this storm. Just like the NDC, it really affected them when the change of leadership came. It took some months before that sense of unity, that semblance of unity began to gel. Okay. And so there are those in the majority caucus who believe that the party leadership, the president, they must all take some urgent steps to ensure that the majority leadership and those persons who are not really excited about these new changes are placated. The first deputy speaker is clearly not happy, and the Apia Kubi is clearly not happy. And there are so many like them who are not excited about these changes, and those persons would have to be reached out. It's 8 months to election. So many crucial businesses will come to Parliament, loans, so many things, and they will need a united force to be able to get them through. And so they would have to be able to get through that.
Interesting days in Parliament, Kwaku. I'm grateful to you for joining us with all of these information. But let's broaden the discussion a bit now and bring in a political scientist who really understand how all of these things play out. Dr. Ike Tando is joining us now. Doc, I'm grateful to you for joining us. First off, what was your reaction when you heard that the long leader of that side has decided to tender in his resignation as the leader of their side?
Shocked, surprised, lost. Those are the words that hit me when I heard that. I was so shocked, I was surprised, I was lost, and I was asking myself, what is happening to the New Patriotic Party and their leadership? And then what is amounting for this? Because from what I said, and having been watching them closely, and then what even Dr. Baumia said at the UPSA recently when we were trying to cancel his vision and then tell them now he's my new leader, this is my vision, all that, I was thinking that now it was the time for them to be able to bring everybody on board. Let's say, hey, we are united. We know what we are looking for. We are calm. We are heading towards 2024 elections with one strength, one sense of vision, one common agenda in order to pursue and then win this election. Because this election is going to be extremely difficult for them, whether they like it or not. It is going to be extremely difficult. So they will need to go within themselves to do something extra more if they are to win the elections. And then wake up this morning and then we see a face, a big face, a big face like Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu says, I am not going to work again. As the leader of the parliament, it sends a lot of strong signal to everybody who is interested in political, who is a political watcher, and even to those who are even now, especially the floating voters, who are even trying to decide who to vote for. I was speaking to a very good friend of mine who had been given a post in the communication team of Baumia. He happens to be my student, and I was telling him that your work is going to be extremely difficult for you guys, you the communication people, because at the end of the day, perception plays a big role in deciding who you vote for or who you align with. As somebody who has invested a lot of time in building brand in political marketing, I say that we don't take things for granted. And you also want to look at your communication cues and your communication variables that you are putting out there. And especially when you have 8 to 10 months to elections, some of your inactions, your actions are going to count. And whether you are going to bring more people into what we call the affinity, to love that brand and to vote for that brand, some of these things should be carefully looked at.
But Doc, I mean, he's not pushed out of the side. He's still an MP. He's still a valuable person to the business of the house. Are we saying that, I mean, like people say, the good leader is the one who is able to train somebody to take after him? Are we saying that he's not been able to train the deputy majority leader so well to handle the business of the house, and therefore if he's not there, I mean, business will go on as usual?
I know, looking at your face and your jacket, I know you're a young man. So I will say that, I will say that probably you passed through the junior high school system. And then when you were in junior high school system, I remember your English teacher was in your class. Your English teacher told you of this expression, coming events, they say, will cast their shadows, right? So if it had been a normal trend, that fine. What you are saying is very logical, that he was training somebody, that leaders must train. And then everything was the playing ground was very cool and quiet, and everything was falling into place. And he said that, okay, fine, I've worked for 20-something years, and I think that is the time for me to step aside for this young lawyer to step into the stead. And Afenyo-Markin is strong. I am not taking anything away from his credibility. He can really do the job. But look at the thing that preceded Kyei-Mensah's announcement of he resigning. So many information going on, and I'm worried. And I have some few friends in the MPP, and I talked to them. What are you saying? How do you collect your information? How do you even make sure that you send you are able to control the narratives around your brand, especially 10 months into elections? And sometimes I find it very worrying that they are not able to go ahead of controlling the narratives around some of the things that come up, especially during this crucial moment of their political, if you like, history. There were a lot of stories we were reading, a lot of rumors circulating, and then we are all interested, we are all asking what is going to happen. And I say again, after Baomia's speech, Dr. Baomia's speech, you are all expecting that they are going to be united, they are going to sing one song, and then all of a sudden we heard we are going to remove Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu. All of a sudden we heard Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu is going to resign. Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu is going to push off. Kyei-Mensah is going to jump the gun. So there were so many perspectives, so many narratives surrounding. Then my very good friend Joe Wise organized a press conference, and I asked myself, channel of communication, was press conference the appropriate channel to communicate that perspective or that stand? But hey, that's what they chose. And they said that they are going to organize a press conference, and then Joe Wise came to say, ABCD, we are resolute. There is not going to be any change that is going to happen. We like our leadership. We are resolute behind our leadership. He also came to say that. Then the next day, then the big announcement comes. So if I am a young man, and then, which I am, and I'm looking at, okay, what kind of brand can I trust that it will take me to the promised land? He'll be able to be fair, he'll be able to be assertive, he'll be able to be very consistent with his messaging and his character. Some of these things will not let me kind of trust how they are handling their issues. One party, the rumor is saying this, the leadership of the party comes to say this differently from what we are all hearing. Then the next day, the big surprise comes. It doesn't show of a brand that is consistent, a brand that is want to be like transparent with the people who are following them, and then people are cheering for them.
But as you can see in those pictures, there are hearty laughs from both sides. The majority leader and the deputy majority leader are in a handshake, very firm one, and exchanging pleasantries. That doesn't really mean that, well, all is not well. I mean, the picture is saying that all is well, but we are trying to say that all is not well. Are we not just giving meanings to things that are not?
Actually, I don't think that you and I know that pictures don't tell the full story. You and I do know. That's where we are coming from.
But like they say, a picture speaks louder than words.
That's why they say a picture tells 1,000 stories, but the story, the narrative of the story or the spirit behind the story can be different from what the picture says. Yes, but I don't want to be a prophet of doom. I am not saying that all is not well with them. I know Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu is very, 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 very mature politician. Afenyo-Markin, he liked him. Look at the body language when he was the leader. Look at how supportive he has been to Afenyo. And you see that the chemistry is there between the two gentlemen. So I wouldn't say that they are fighting or there is a chaos between them or whatever the leadership. But all I'm saying is that communication is very essential. The cues you are giving to the people that you want to love, you want to even sway them from, for example, say NDC or Alan Cash Butterfly, for them to give you that mandate to break the 8. We are watching. What are we hearing? And you know that no matter what, there are people who also like Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu's style of leadership. There are people who might not also like his leadership. So the things that preceded his big announcement, it's worrying. It's trying to make all these kind of pictures that are coming up a bit difficult to believe that all is well. Okay. If you really want to be very objective and really want to be very honest. But let's hope and let's pray for them. I was watching the small video that I played of Osei Kyei-Mensah. He said he will speak on Monday or something. I'm just hoping to see what he will come out to say. And then what he will say would have a very strong role to play as to how the public will perceive the MPP and receive this resignation. And then what the MPP communication team will also come and say. I know the spin doctors are getting ready, those who want to jump on radio and TV to spin around some of all these things. But I hope and pray that they will be united. They will look at the sensitivity of the issue, the emotions and the appeals of how they would want to communicate around this. If they all come out and then they are able to get Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu to align with them and then drafting a message that will resonate with everybody, the better for them. But if they start doing their usual things by trying to defend and then those who like it, those who like Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu try to throw shots, those who don't like him also try to bring their own narrative to counter. I don't think it will help the MPP. What I think that they should do is that they should be smart. I know they are smart. They should be smart. They should put their heads together. They should come out to tell us a very good story to defend, not to even defend, but to assure us that all is well for them. And then what they have done is not something that is unusual or something that's going to break their front, because they need unity and they need to communicate with one voice, one spirit, one direction for the next 10 months that is ahead of them.
Well, who should lead the communication? Should it be the national executives? Should it be the flag bearer now, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, or should it be President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, because he's still the president? Who amongst these three should be leading the communication about the changes in Parliament and how to, move that side of the house together so that, like you say, they will be displaying that sort of unity that people are looking up to them for?
I really like this question, and I feel sorry for Dr. Bawumia. He's a nice gentleman. I think his speech that he gave at EPS was very good. He was trying to bring everybody, and I saw Jay Kufu. I saw everybody who mattered at that speech or at that ceremony. And then what was it trying to communicate? I am very biased towards communication because I am a communication scholar. So everything that you do counts towards the brand that you want to build. So having delivered such a very good speech and then waking up the next day or two to come and hear these things, it's a bit worrying. But to go straight to your question, I think that where they have reached, and then listening to what Bagman said some few days ago, that the party should have a say in who becomes the leader of the house. Although Joe Wise and others were arguing that the standing orders have its own interpretation, that if you are not a member of the house, you don't have a direct responsibility to elect or nominate who should become the leader of the caucus. So it's quite interesting. But if I were to give any free advice to the MPP, I think that the leadership of the party, the leadership of Parliament should come together, and then if they like, do a joint presser to communicate the spirit behind what has happened, and to make sure that and to communicate clearly and in simple terms that nothing is happening. This is why we did this, or this is why Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu also took this decision. And I'll be very happy if even they can even get Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu to be with them when they are communicating that, when they are releasing that information or that pressure, that they say that if the person that you think that is, because now part of the narrative is that he has been pushed. Part of the narrative is that he was forced to jump over. So if we are able to get Osei Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu himself with the leadership of the party to communicate that, okay, hey, this is the direction. The man himself is here and he's saying that nothing is happening. Your perceptions are wrong. We are still together. But just like you said in your earlier preamble, that I've done this thing for 27 years. I think now is the time for me to move on. I think he's been made a chairman of the manifesto committee of the MPP of Dr. Bawumia's team. Yeah. So this is the time for me to use my huge 27 years experience to help Bawumia's agenda and then to push him. So nothing is happening. Nothing is bent down. I want to concentrate my energies focusing on securing the next election for the MPP. So my interest would be how they will come out with the messaging, the comms. That will let us know, that will let other people believe that, yes, they are still united or otherwise. But
let me ask you this question before I let you go. You know, it looked as though the members from the Ashanti region were the ones seen publicly going against this change. Already we've heard of the sort of, you know, bickering, for the lack of a better word, in the Ashanti region about, you know, already how the leadership of the party, especially the flag bearer, was chosen. That Alan Chamating has gone off. How does this aggravate the already sore in the Ashanti region that probably could affect the fortunes of the party in our region?
So that's a very good question. So that is why I said early on that the timing is wrong, the context is wrong, the situation is not too good for the MPP to have done what they have done. That is if he was pushed. And if I were in there, or I had the opportunity to say to him, I would have thought that they would let Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu finish his term. Because all that you are saying is coming to play. The Ashantis think that, okay, now this is our party, because that is their, Ashanti region is their World Bank, if you like. And then they feel that they have been a bit of hard done with, and with Alan Chamate also going off and all that. So those narratives are there, and they are aware. They can't say that they are not aware. MPP people are aware. Their researchers are aware. So I think that for Joe Wise, also an Ashanti from Bekwai, to also lead the charge, to come and say, I don't think any changes is going to come. We are resolute behind our leader, and then nothing is going to happen. It's a bit worrying, and it's going to also feed into that narrative that the Ashantis are, if you like, they are being sidelined or they are being ignored and all that. So what is interesting, what I want to say is their response. How are they going to respond? How are they going to bring everybody together and say that hey, nothing is missing, nothing is going wrong? That will be very crucial in the few coming days.
Doc, I'm grateful to you for the insight you've shared with us here on The Pulse. Dr. Ike Tando is a political scientist. This is still The Pulse here on the Joy News channel. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Please do stay. Welcome back to The Pulse. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace. Now, let's talk about something very disturbing because it's something that affects all of us. Now, in the second part of the Joy News feature on the National Health Insurance Scheme's dire challenges, we delve into the heart of the matter at Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, where the underfunded scheme has left countless patients stranded at the hospital premises. Despite being a beacon of hope for many, the NHIS has faltered, forcing subscribers to pay for medicines that should have been covered by the scheme. My colleague Clinton Yeboah uncovers the painful truth in today's feature.
We have also extended NHIS coverage.
This is the Vice President, Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia, confirming over 61% increase in NHIS registration numbers since 2017. But do these numbers mean anything at all, especially with the level of quality of services being provided in various hospitals across the country?
Outside of the imposing gates of the Accident and Emergency Unit of the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital and the waiting room of the KNUST Hospital, a restless crowd gather with their faces imprinted with worry and desperation. These are not just visitors earnestly waiting for good news concerning their sick relatives, but patients and family members perturbed with medical bills they cannot foot. Gifty Boache almost shed a tear talking about her sick mother. She has spent days at the hospital, banking hopes on the National Health Insurance Scheme, which she describes as stale.
Insurance no and say we skapa na obi bi yare and na obi bi wu a eno an se woda ho a wo me ba ha pa na mbe hu se enye tim sa Ghana ayedin wonni bi pa wonni se wonni bi a obi bi wu no an se wo wu.
The scheme has become stale. Now, if you do not have money, you won't receive quality health care. Why? We have to pay for almost all the services received.
There have been several complaints about the quality of NHIS service provided by some health facilities across the Ashanti region. Some individuals are reporting long delays in receiving treatment due to not having a health insurance card. They disclose instances of lack of essential medication due to inadequate coverage of expenses. These required subscribers to purchase medicines that they expected should be covered under the scheme. Look at
the number of drugs they have prescribed for me. Why would we be buying all sorts of drugs if it's working? They took 20 cedis before giving me a bed in the ward here in Kumasi South Hospital.
Without receipt. They to me, they cover me, and I be the neighbor has a much as beautiful Dunkow, and a bassy, a buyer, almost a panico, and pass short. Massa making it's not, and a Bahaman number 6 o'clock. A Bonaju, 1 o'clock, and Pama, Mammy, Albadasso, a look rampono, the Tiesca.
I brought my mother, but we had to pay a bribe of 100 Ghana cedis before getting a bed. I have bought all sorts of drugs for 2,000 Ghana cedis.
I don't say to me, Bassa. Health insurance, health insurance, and yes, I said, and no, which your man in Nigeria, and yet more has he. Health insurance, necessary yet more, and yet more has he. Because you know, Tony and Matudo almost 50 Monday in payment, but to do a couple of 2,000.
For these aggrieved individuals, the struggling National Health Insurance Scheme is not just a health administrative obstacle, but a point of evidence of poor health systems and the inflicting reality of the poor. This is Samuel Tay Wayu.
A draw nibo and health insurance cover. And a beer card. I said, draw any boy didn't say beer.
The ones that are given free are not expensive, but the expensive ones I have to buy. This is my card, and I don't see any need.
You see, me by near cover crown, it's a movie and say, anyway, or much or drama may be 7 cotton. I in your kakitwa over 33,000. We know about health insurance to be uncovered.
According to the 2023 medicine list of the National Health Insurance, appraised by a specialist group, the currently reviewed medicines list contains a total of 548 formulations. Childhood immunizations, tuberculosis, HIV/AIDS, and mental health care are exempted from the scheme. The document disclosed that executive management of the NHIA has directed and approved a 20% increase in the prices of medicines as a stopgap measure to mitigate the recent increases in prices of medicines on the open market. A health official who pleaded anonymity explains the hospitals are compelled to top up prices of drugs and medical consumables due to price disparities in the open market price and the bench price covered by the NHIS. The situation seemingly grants profit-seeking hospitals a chance to charge patients more than required as top-ups.
Insurance has its own pricing for each drug. If that is not the price that the hospital gets on the market, that means the patient has to pay for the extra amount, because insurance price is usually so low that you go to the market for the equipment that you need for the procedure, and it will be way above the price the insurance is going to pay. So you have to add the difference for the patient to pay. And some hospitals actually add extra for profits.
He further disclosed underfunding of several hospitals and bureaucratic hurdles of NHIS medicine administering guidelines are engulfing several facilities.
When they list the drugs, it means you have to stick to what they've said. Insurance, sometimes they will reject it entirely and flag it as wrong, so they won't pay, because they have specific treatment guides that you have to follow. If you go out of that, they have so many rules, so the hospitals would have to find ways and means to make up for all of that. Insurance is a stickler for rules.
Efforts to reach the Ashanti Regional Health Insurance Office have proven unsuccessful, but health officials are proposing an increase in premium drugs covered by the NHIS.
I believe funds to facilities should be released on time for them to be able to get the needed consumables for work. I also think that premium should be increased for especially those who can afford, those in the formal sector whose deductions are made straight from their SNP contributions.
Universal health coverage in Ghana says that all persons should and must receive timely access to health care. It is then apparent that a national entity such as the National Health Insurance accrues some attention to the struggling portions in order to improve service and ensure that we achieve the universal health coverage targets. Reporting for Joy News, my name is Clinton Yabwa.
Well, the current CEO of the NHIS has been appointed as the Minister of Health. Let's see how he can use his experience to turn around the fortunes of that scheme. But still staying in the health sector, the Afenyo-Markin Teaching Hospital is turning some patients in need of dialysis treatment to private facilities due to insufficient equipment for the procedure. Presently, only one dialysis machine is fully functional, supporting another partially working. Chief Executive Officer, Professor Dr. Osei Kyei-Mensah, says the decision to limit dialysis to patients of the hospital is the hardest taking under his tenure. He spoke at a meeting with the finance minister who toured the mother and baby unit being constructed at the hospital. Nanaya Ojima has more in the following report.
Dialysis is a procedure to remove waste products and excess fluid from the blood when the kidney stops working properly. The failure of kidney patients to get the service when necessary may lead to death. The Afenyo-Markin Teaching Hospital is a referral hospital for 12 of the 16 regions in the country. Its nephrology unit is challenged with the necessary tools for the procedure despite the relevance. Professor Osei Kyei-Mensah explains some critical decisions the hospital has taken.
The truth is that we at Afenyo-Markin presently have, I usually say, 1.5 dialysis machines. And it's because one is working at full capacity, the other is working at fault. And so what it means is that we are no longer able to receive patients from outside for dialysis. So the dialysis in this hospital is restricted to patients who are within the hospital. One of the most difficult calls I have had to make as a chief executive was when I was approached by my medical director, and who posed a question as to whether or not he was okay to send patients who needed dialysis to private facilities for dialysis. As difficult as that call was, it had to be made because we do not have sufficient dialysis machines. And Mr. Minister, the truth is that for each dialysis session, it takes 4 hours. And so what it means is that if you have 2 dialysis machines in-house and you have, say, 5 patients who need dialysis, what it means is that if God does not intervene, then by the time he gets to the turn of the 5th person, he probably would have popped off.
The tooling challenge of the hospital is not limited to dialysis machines. For over 18 years, the hospital has been without mammography machines.
One key example is a mammography machine, which for the past about 18 years we haven't had one. And so we are picking up breast cancer cases in stages 3 and stage 4. Apparently about 70% of the cases of breast cancer are diagnosed in stage 3 and stage 4, basically because the effective screening that ought to be done with the help of a mammogram machine not being done.
Meanwhile, the challenge with spacing continues to affect the hospital's operations. Professor Dr. Afenyo-Mensah explained though the hospital is constrained, they are forced to congest their facilities.
Indeed, if Komfo-Anokye decides to close off the emergency center for 24 hours because it is full, and as we speak, the place is meant, orange ward is meant for 12. We presently have about 42 patients. Yellow is meant for 18. We have about 27 patients. Red is meant for 7. We have about 10 patients there as we speak now. And so if we decided that we're no longer receiving emergencies, obviously because the place is full, what it means is that we are practically asking patients who come in who are turned away to go and die.
The release of funds for works on the mother and baby unit comes as a relief for many in the Ashanti region. Finance Minister Dr. Mohammed Amin Adams reveals 14 million euros have been released for the purpose.
Can I assure you, because of the concern by our president, the directive for us to find money and address these outstanding infrastructure issues, you have seen us moving very quickly. And this visit by me demonstrates that commitment to addressing these challenges so we can bring relief to the people of Kumasi, Ashanti region. And I know that a lot of cases are referred to Komfo-Anokye from other regions of the country.
For Joy News, Nana Ojima, Kumasi.
Now, 282 persons with disabilities, including 90 former toll booth operators, have been recruited by the Youth Employment Agency in a bid to curb the high unemployment rate among people in that category. In an interaction with the press, the agency's CEO, Kofi Ajapon, touted the feat as unprecedented. He urged other state and private agencies to create employment avenues for persons with disabilities, most of whom have limited job opportunities.
The Youth Employment Agency has successfully recruited 282 persons with disabilities possessing at least a senior high school qualification. And I repeat, it brings me joy, immense joy, to announce to the people of Ghana through your esteemed platforms that the Youth Employment Agency has successfully recruited 282 persons with disabilities possessing at least a senior high school qualification. These individuals have been appointed as staff members of our agency. These individuals have been appointed as staff members of our agency, with those holding diploma or higher qualifications assuming roles as regional disability desk officers, and those with senior high school qualifications appointed as district disability desk officers across all 16 regions and 266 operational districts respectively. Ladies and gentlemen, this employment affords them not only a sense of pride and financial stability, but also positions of influence, where they can contribute meaningfully to policy formulation and implementation concerning disability rights. Furthermore, the agency is committed to ensuring the social security and welfare of these employees, including the payment of relevant statutory contributions. They will enjoy the same economic benefits and privileges as any other government employee, ensuring their financial stability and security. And I repeat, the agency is committed to ensuring the social security and welfare of these employees, including payment of relevant statutory contributions. They will enjoy the same economic benefits and privileges as any other government employee, ensuring their financial security and stability. Members of the media, in addressing the needs of individuals without basic qualifications, the Youth Employment Agency has developed other alternative pathways through Our programs such as the Business and Employment Assistance Program, Youth in Skills Training, and our Garment and Textile Training initiatives under the Garment and Textile module.
Now, the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, has advised clients to only transact business with the power distribution company through its power app and offices. Speaking to Joy News, the Volta Regional General Manager of ECG, Christina Jato Kalio, explained the outfit does not operate a mobile money account and entreated customers not to give audience to people who would ask them to send money to ECG mobile money or bank accounts to access services.
These people, what they do is that they call on customers, tell them services that you require from ECG, it is time for you to make some payments. They will give you some fake ECG account number, ECG Momo number, and quickly they will come back and tell you the account number is not working, so you have to pay through the Momo. They will give you the number and a name on the number. Truly, when you dial the number, that so-called name will pop up, and the person is either designated as a manager, a secretary, an engineer, or a technician who will be receiving this money in the name of ECG. Please don't fall prey to such activities. I repeat again, ECG does not have any designated Momo account number that we give out to customers to pay money into. Download the Power app or use the short code, which is *226#. Anytime you need to pay any money to ECG, you pay, your receipt is generated electronically. Or better still, if you are not comfortable with these things, visit an ECG office nearest to you. Don't deal with middlemen. That is how you get defrauded. Just recently, I think last week, one government institution was contacted for the GRA Customs Training School here in the Volta region. They sent them a fake press release. I think they got it somewhere from the net, cloned it somehow to look like it is directed to the Customs Training School, asking them to pay these monies. But they were quite alert and they reported to ECG. So we have taken those numbers, submitted them to the security agencies to investigate, and let's get down to those people who are doing it. But what we do is that when you are defrauded or these people come into contact with you, kindly note the number. You can report straight to a police station or to the mobile service provider, or come to ECG office. We will take this number, we submit it to the security agencies. We are dealing with them, trying to crack down on these people who are using fake numbers, fake identities, impersonating ECG personnel to defraud Ghanaians who want to do genuine business with ECG.
Now, residents along a storm drain at Asylum Down in Accra are lamenting its blockage by plastic waste. They say the situation is leaving them at the risk of having to face floods with the slightest downpour, and they want the authorities to quickly address the situation. Joy News' Elikem Day visited the community, and here's his report read to you.
In Accra, floods have been a major headache for years. This has led to the loss of lives and many properties. Residents of Asylum Down have expressed worry over how the drains get clogged with plastic garbage and other materials. They want the relevant authorities to fix the situation to avert flooding when it rains.
I mean, this is not a gutter, it's a drain. If it chokes, it affects the environment, it affects the lives of the people, depleting the area. So when there's flood, it will go into the homes of the people around, and we will also call environmental and add more people to come and clean the place. And it's all wastage of money to the economy and to the government. The government should be, astute in their working or in their operation, because as it gets flood, as it gets
build up. It will flood, and it will cause the environmental hazard to the people living in that area.
Yeah, I've been working over here for almost 15 years now. I've been crossing this place all the time, but sometimes it rain. If you see here, it's not palatable. The gutter, because of the rubbish. Even if you assume that maybe you are not here for a long time, maybe when it's raining, you pass here. Even this gutter, the bridge over here too, is collapsing.
How long has the rubbish been here? You have been here for...
Oh, here for a long time.
Here for a long time. No one has come to clean it, nothing?
Nothing. Maybe they don't have the community people who will be taking care of this place as well. Those authorities, they should come or should organize the guys so they will come and be cleaning it either every weekend or every 2 weeks.
So we are begging the big men to come and help us to do this gutter for us, because we are suffering here.
How long has it been here? How long?
Me.
How long has this? How long has the rubbish been here?
Almost. If you don't lie, almost. More of that time, almost 3 years. Yes.
So hasn't it been affecting you guys? Like, hasn't it been causing
floods? Every rainfall is worse. Sometimes that's inside our room, spoil things. So flat. So we are begging them to come and help us to do this gutter, because we are suffering.
It's why to help.
When the fact that it's getting flooded, you could see a lot of, garbages in it, because it's not covered. People throw garbages in it, people defecate in it, and apart from that, also it breeds mosquito. You know, the cost of health is very expensive, and mosquitoes all over this area. And apart from that, it smells too. We are talking about, making Ghana a tourist attraction. And when tourists come and see this kind of gutter over here, looking at the filth inside, it doesn't speak well. It doesn't add up to our country. It is not nice, you know. So the government should come to our area. Every time it rains and this year get flooded, they will come and tell us stories. Oh, we are coming next week. We are coming. We are coming. When it's elections time, they will bring their machines, come and do small work. And then after election, that's all. It has been so since the time I've been here. You get me? So I travel, come back. Whenever I come, the same thing. Just last week, some people came over that they are coming to do. I've gotten some fund from World Bank, and they even got the fund around 2015. And 2015 up to now, still the gutter has not been done. So I wonder why the fund is there. And for the past not less than 8 to 9 years, they've not done it. You get me? It's really a worry to all of us.
Elikem Day's report read to you.
Well, it's 2 years ago this week since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. With the anniversary coming just days after the sudden death of Russia opposition leader Alexei Navalny, European leaders are being asked hard questions about what more they can do to thwart Russian aggression and support Ukraine. For more, we're joined by DW's Arthur Sullivan in Berlin. Now, Arthur, how have European leaders reacted to the death of Navalny?
So the news of Alexei Navalny's death last Friday came as a huge shock to European leaders, even though it wasn't entirely surprising, given how things have gone for so many opponents of the Russian President Vladimir Putin over the years, and also given how Navalny himself had been treated since he returned to Russia in 2021, having been poisoned just before that. Now, European leaders made it very clear that they held the Russian state and its leader ultimately responsible for Navalny's death, and they emphasised that it showed just how undemocratic and brutal the repression of the Russian state has become under Putin, and particularly since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine 2 years ago this week. The German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, he said Navalny had paid for his courage with his life and that his death showed just how much Russia had changed. The French President Emmanuel Macron said the death showed that in Russia, free spirits were sent to the Gulag and condemned to death. Now, since then, the story has moved on, of course. Navalny's body has still not been released to his family, who say that this is because Russia is trying to delay things as long as possible in an attempt to cover up the true cause of Navalny's death. Now, Navalny's widow, Yulia Navalnaya, she met with foreign ministers from Europe earlier this week, and she made it very clear that she holds Putin responsible for her husband's death, and she urged the EU to take action.
So what does it mean in terms of new sanctions against Russia?
Well, given that the tide of the war appears to have swung in Russia's favour recently, and also that the Russian economy, which has been hit with so many sanctions, is doing better than the West expected it to, EU leaders have been considering new sanctions options for a while anyway. But the death of Navalny has really increased the sense of urgency. So when Yulia Navalnaya, his widow, met the EU foreign ministers this week, she said that Europe should not recognise the legitimacy of the forthcoming presidential election in Russia, which is in March. Now, that wouldn't be a sanction as such, but it would be a big, big statement against Putin. Now, the ministers were meeting anyway to discuss the latest round of sanctions, and it appears that a new package will be agreed very, very soon, probably this week. Now, those new sanctions are believed to target up to 200 individuals and businesses tied to the February 2022 invasion of Ukraine. They're not specifically about Navalny, but his death means that there may be some symbolic ones attached to this package, perhaps targeting individuals connected to the prison or the prison service in Russia. Now, major new sanctions are not going to be announced anytime soon, but the US this week said that it was going to bring in some new sanctions directly tied to Navalny's death, and that obviously does increase the pressure on Europe to do something more with regard to this issue.
Now, what about the broader question of European financial support for Ukraine and indeed investment in its own security for the years ahead?
Well, the EU a few weeks back did agree a new €50 billion financial package for Ukraine. And despite the fact that some countries in Europe, like Hungary, for example, which tends to be a bit closer to Russia, the EU does clearly remain committed to supporting Ukraine despite that sort of opposition. Now, in terms of investment in Europe's own security, this is a different question, really, that's not going to go away over the coming years. The recent comments from Donald Trump that he would encourage Russia to attack a NATO country if that country did not meet its spending commitments on security, those comments were greeted with horror across Europe, particularly given Trump's chances of winning the US presidential election later this year. So fears that the USA could pull back from its huge security role in Europe under a second Trump presidency are growing. Europe has ramped up its arms production in the last few years, in fact over the last decade, particularly in the last 2 years, but experts still say it's not anywhere near enough to make the continent able to fully defend itself in the absence of US security leadership. However, it is important to point out that European countries which are members of NATO are spending more and more each year on their security. So 10 years ago, just 3 NATO members met the target of spending at least 2% of their annual GDP on defence, and this year it's going to be 18 countries, so a huge increase there. And here's the thing overall. For a long time, this question itself was simply not a question, it was dormant, and that is not the case anymore. In fact, it's a bigger question than it has been probably at any stage since the Cold War. And it's only going to get bigger, given what we've seen happening in Ukraine and what happened in Russia with Navalny last week.
So that was DWTV's Arthur Sullivan joining us from Berlin there. Well, you know that the US is at the center stage. They will be voting for a new president in November 2024. The question is, who will carry the day? So join us your election headquarters. We have a new show, America Decides. And Dr. H.S. Kanku is joining me from the other side of the studio. Doc, let's understand, what should we expect in this new program?
Well, so you rightly said it. The elections are going to take place in November 2024. but the primary season is currently ongoing and it's getting very heated. The various political parties are in the process of selecting who would be their candidate. And as you know, they have a very open system where each single state has to vote for each political party to decide who leads them. So yes, the elections are in November, but the primaries have started. In fact, about 3 to 4 states have already voted, and in all of those, Donald Trump has won, and won by huge margins. So what we're going to do in this program is to track the presidential election process right from where it starts, because by November, the major decisions have been made already, and you are presented with just 2 candidates. So what we are doing here is to track the process right from the beginning, going state by state, process by process for each political party before we get right down to November. So this program will actually highlight and bring more insights, discussions, analysis on the various stages, the various processes of the American presidential cycle right from the primary stage.
Well, so that's all coming up on America Decides here on your election headquarters. Well, my name is Samuel Kojo Brace. This has been The Pulse. We'll take a quick break. When we return, when Joe News comes back, then America Decides is up next with Dr. Eche Sekanko. Thanks for being a part of it. There's more on myjoyonline.com. Have a great afternoon.